Welcome back. In this video, we are going to create section 7 of the layout, which is the portfolio. So here we're going to showcase some of the latest projects that our fake company has created. So here we have some buttons to filter some of the categories for the project. So you can see once you click, they filter the categories. And then once you hover the project, you'll see they reveal the project name and the category of that project. So let's get started and create something similar like what you have here on the layout. So on the HTML, I'm going to start that section. And I'm going to start with a comment as always. So we have start section 7, the portfolio. So let's start that section with an ID of portfolio and a class of portfolio. We need a container and a row tab. So here we're going to start with the heading. We have the latest work and then heading line and then subheading. So we have h1 with a class of display 3 and a class of font weight bold. So latest work. So here I'm going also to add another class, which is text capitalize. And then the heading line below the heading. So we have heading line. Then the subheading, we have the paragraph with the class of lead. Some dummy text, so lorem 12. Save, let's see. So we have our text now. So let's put it on the center, at the center. So here on the row, I'm going to add text center class. Save, let's see. So there you have it, but now we need some space between the previous section and the heading. So on the row here, I'm going to add some margin at the top. So we have margin top 5. Save, let's see. So now you can see we have some space between the previous section and that heading. Next, I'm going to add the filter buttons. So we have these buttons for filtering the categories. So let's add the buttons. So here I'm going to add another row for that content. So we have filter buttons. So a new row with a class of text center. And then a column. So we are going to use column D12. So here we have button with a class of btn and then btn outline primary. And the type of the button is button. So we have type, which is button. So we have all, and then I'm going to duplicate for other categories. So the second category is websites. The next one is design, and then we have mockup. So I'm going to save. Let's see from the browser. And now you can see we have the buttons. So what you're going to do is add some margin at the top so that you can have some space between the heading, the subheading, and the buttons. So here we have the row. We are going to add margin top 3. And then save. Let's see. So I think we need to increase the margin. So here I'm going to use margin top 5 and then margin bottom 4. And then some gutter. So we're going to use gutter 3 and then save. So now you can see we have some enough space. Next, I'm going to add the content for the portfolio items. From the layout here, we have the 9 columns which make up the 9 portfolio items. First, I'm going to copy the portfolio images or the pictures to my project. So here I have a folder called portfolio. It has all the pictures for the portfolio. They are named portfolio 1 all the way to portfolio 9, and they are in JPEG. So I'm going to copy the entire folder to my project. So inside the images, paste. So now we have the pictures in our project. Now we can go ahead and add the portfolio items or that content. So here we're going to create a new row for that content. So I'm going to start with a comment, which is start the portfolio content or portfolio items. So here I'm going to create a new row, and here I'm going to use Emmet to help us generate the 9 portfolio items at once. So after the row, we need the columns, and here I'm going to group them, and I'm going to create 2 breakpoints. So for large devices, I'm going to use call LG4. And then for medium devices, I'm going to use call MD6. Then we need the container for all the portfolio items. So I'm going to call it portfolio box. And then we need shadow. So I'm going to add that shadow class. And then we need the picture or the image. So here again I'm going to group the picture. So we have the image and then the source of the images. So we have a folder called images and then portfolio where we have the pictures. So here we need the name of the files. So we have portfolio minus $.jpg. So the $sign will assign each value so that we can have portfolio 1 to portfolio 9, and they are in JPEG format. Then we need the alt. So we have portfolio $sign image, and then also we need the title. So we have title. So we have portfolio $sign picture. Then we need the class for responsive image. So we're going to use image fluid. That one is a Bootstrap Bootstrap class for responsive images. So we have image fluid. Then from there we need the container for the caption. So I'm going to call it portfolio info. And then we need the caption. So we're going to create another class. So we have div and then caption. Then from there we need the caption. So we're going to use h4. So we have h4 and the text will be project name goes here and then $sign. And also the category project, we have the P, and then the text will be category project. So at the end here, I'm going to say times 9, and it's going to generate for us all the 9 portfolio items with the content. So here you can specify the number of columns or the portfolio items that you want it to generate. So we have 9, so I'm going to say times 9, hit tab. And here you can see now it has generated for us all the content, including the pictures, and it has assigned also the values. So I'm going to save. Let's see from the browser. And there you have it. You can see now we have the 9 portfolio items. Next, I'm going to style the content, and we have a SASS file for that section, which is portfolio.sss. So I'm going to open that file. And here the first thing I'm going to do is to use the module. So we have the use and then custom. That is the first module you're going to use because of the variables. So use it as a star. And then you're also going to use the mixin. So we have components and then mixin. So again, use it as star and then close. So here I'm going to start by styling the class called portfolio. So this is the class we have on the section. If you check from the HTML, we have that class here on the section. So here I'm going to set the padding, and I'm going to set 4em for the top and bottom, and then 0 for the left and right. Then we're going to also to style the text on the buttons. So we need to set the text transform to capitalize. So we have the button. So text transform, capitalize. I'm going to save, let's see. So now we have the text set to capitalize, and you can see now they are capitalized. So the next thing is to style the portfolio box, and that one is a standalone container. So we have portfolio box. So here I'm going to start with the position. I'm going to set that to relative. Then we're going to set the width to 100%. So the width is going to scale to the width of the columns. So remember here on the HTML we have the two columns. We have col LG4 and col MD6. So those are two different breakpoints. And then also the height, we're going to set that to 18.5 rem. We can change that later if it's too big or too small. So that means all our portfolio items will have an equal height. So I'm going to save. Let's see from the browser. So now you can see we have equal height on all portfolio items. So the next thing is to style the images or the pictures to scale to the height of the portfolio box. So here we're going to style it inside the portfolio box. We have the image, and here I'm going to set the width and the height to 100%. 100% and also height. So the height of the image is going to scale to the height of the parent container, which is the portfolio box, and we have set that to 18.5 rem. So we have 100%. Save, let's see. So now you can see the pictures have scaled to the height of the parent container. So the next thing is to hide some of the caption. You can see they're overflowing. So here you're going to use a property called overflow, and you're going to set that to hidden. Save, let's see. And there you have it. You can see now they are hidden. Let's also add some margin at the bottom so that we can separate the portfolio items. So here you're going to set the margin bottom to 1.2 rem. Save, let's see. And there you have it. You can see now we have some margin at the bottom to separate the portfolio items. Next, I'm going to style the captions and also add the border at the top. So if you check here from the layout, you can see we have a border at the top, and the caption is only visible once you hover the portfolio item. So let's work on that. So here we're going again to nest it the way we have done on the HTML. So we have the portfolio info inside the portfolio box. So we have that class. So this is the class or the container which has that background color. So we have here we're going to set that background color. So we have RGBA. So we have our primary with an opacity of 0.75. And then I'm going to set the width and the height to 100%. So we have width 100% and also height. Also here I'm going to set the position to absolute. And then we have the caption inside the portfolio info. So we have that class. So here I'm going to set the text align to center. So I'm going to save. Let's see. So nothing to show. So here we're going to set the top to 0. So we need to set that top 0. And then I'm going to save. Let's see. So now you can see we have the caption and that background. So the next thing is to position the caption at the center of the portfolio item. So on the caption, you're going to include that mixin. So we have include, which is going to position it at the center, and we have that mixin called absolute center. I'm going to save. Let's see. So now you can see we have the caption at the center. So let's change the color. So we have white. Close, save. Let's see. And there you have it. So let's change or set the text transform to uppercase so that we can make sure that the caption are in uppercase like what we have here on the layout. So let's set that. So inside the caption we have that H4. So text transform, we are going to set that to uppercase. And then I'm going to save. Let's see. And there you have it. Next, we need to hide the captions and only make them visible once you hover the portfolio item. So here we have the container for the caption, which is portfolio info. So here we need to set the opacity to 0 and also visibility to hidden. So we have opacity 0 and then visibility. I'm going to set that to hidden. So I'm going to save. Let's see. So now you can see the captions have been hidden. So we need the caption to be visible once you hover the portfolio item. So down here, we are going to create that hover. So we have the hover effect. And then you're going to call this class portfolio. And then you're going to set the opacity to 1 and visibility to visible. So opacity 1 and visibility visible. I'm going to save. Let's see. So now if you hover the portfolio item, you can see the captions are visible. The next thing is to add the border top. At the top, we need a border at the top, like what we have here on the layout. So you can see we have that border at the top. So let's also set that. So we need it at the portfolio box. So border top. I'm going to use 0.5 frame for the width. Solid. And then the color we're going to use purple light. So we have that color on the custom SASS file. Purple light. I'm going to save. Let's see. So you can see now we have that border at the top. So something else I'm going to do is to create a transition which you're going to apply on the hover effect. So you can see once you hover the portfolio item, that hover is so dry. So let's create a transition which you're going to apply so that we can have that smooth hover effect on the portfolio items. So here we're going to create a mixin which you're going to reuse where we need to use that transition. So I'm going to open that mixin, and then down here we are going to create that mixin. So I'm going to start with a comment which is transition property. So we have the mixin, at mixin, and the name of that mixin, I'm going to call it transition property. So here you're going to use transition duration. So we have that property, and here I'm going to set to 1000 milliseconds. Another property you need is the transition property. So we have transition property. So here I'm going to set to all, and then I'm going to save. Then you're going to include this mixin where we have that hover effect or any other place that you want to use that transition. So we have the portfolio, and then here I'm going to include that mixin. So we have include, and then transition property. So I'm going to save. Let's save from the browser. So now you can see once I hover the portfolio item, you can see we have that smooth hover effect or that smooth transition. So something else before we finish this part is I'm going to set where we have the portfolio info. So we have top 0 and left 0. So I'm going to set also that to 0. And then where we have that caption, the heading, I'm going to set the display to block. So I'm going to save. So now if you hover the portfolio item, you can see we have that smooth hover effect. So the next step now is to make sure that our section is fully responsive. And you can see here the media breakpoints are already applying on this section. And that is because here on the HTML we created 2 media breakpoints. So we have a media breakpoint for large devices, which is going to use a column size of LG4, and another media breakpoint for medium devices, which is going to use col MD6. So you can see here already on large devices that media breakpoint is already applying. So let's say, for example, we switch the col LG4 to another column size. So I'm going to select all of them and then replace, for example, use col LG3, which is smaller than col LG4. So I'm going to save. Let's see how many columns we'll have on the section. So you can see we are having now 4 columns on large devices. So that is because we have that media breakpoint which we have specified on large devices. So let's switch back, and then we are going to see how the section look like on other devices like medium and small devices. So I'm going to right click and inspect elements. So you can see this one is a medium device, a screen width of 768, and you can see now the media breakpoint are applying on that device, and that is col MD6. So every time this section hits a breakpoint of a medium device, then they switch the columns and uses col MD6. So let's switch to another device. Let's go to Moto G4. That's a small device. And here again, you can see the section or the content is fitting nicely on that screen device. So I'm going to switch to another device like Pixel 2. Again, this is a screen width of 411. That is below 600. You can see the content is fitting nicely. So I'm going to switch the screen using this icon. And again, you can see now the section or the content is fitting nicely on that screen size. So let me go to iPhone X. Again, this one is a small device. You can see the content is also fitting nicely. So with that, our section now is fully responsive and we are ready to move to the next step.